Hello and welcome to Milestone Mindset Live. I'm your host, Nancy Sargent, and I'm here with Michael Brenner, author, speaker, and global content marketing strategist. And I'm excited today to talk about guerrilla growth hacks to win new clients and donors with content. I'm a huge believer in, user of, and provider of content for my clients. And in many cases, I collaborate with Michael's team to do that. And Michael and I have known each other for a long time. So I've asked him to be my guest today to help everyone know what to do right now when you get off this call. You could be creating your own content and you'll be able to take tips from here. And if you're working with a content provider, you'll be able to guide and manage and measure that effort after this time as well. The Milestone Mindset Live show, my intent here is to support the small business owners to mid-sized business owners and nonprofits and even individuals and entrepreneurs with information either about marketing, about business, or inspirational stories from nonprofits or beneficiaries of nonprofits that live a milestone mindset life, whether in work, play, or home. So, Michael, without any further moments going by, I would like to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, share with the folks watching either now or in the replay, um, what brings you to this point in providing content for so many companies and helping them grow.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, Nancy. As you mentioned, we've known each other for a long time. I'm CEO of Marketing Insider Group, and we've been around for 6.5 years. Prior to that, I did 25 years in corporate marketing, and really wanted to kind of leave to help smaller businesses, like I think those folks out there that are listening, to really understand how they can market themselves without breaking the bank, in a growth mindset, and a sort of a guerrilla growth hack mindset, if you will. But basically, my whole mission is to share what I learned as a startup CMO with no budget, as a large corporate marketer, looking at a lot of inefficiency in marketing spend, as a former salesperson who always thought marketing should be able to show a demonstrated measurable result. So that's really why we do, the kind of things that we do for our clients.
As you being a former salesperson,
Mhm.
and in my early career, first I was in advertising, global brands, tons of budget, when advertising was a lot simpler. There were fewer places to put your spend, so it was easier to manage. Then I went to a direct sales organization that had just been regulated by the Federal Trade Commission. So there were super duper stringent rules. And I had no marketing budget. And the sales reps would only use the leads if they were good leads. And literally back in the day, to date myself, there was a filing cabinet system. The top were the good leads, then the middle, and then the bottom. And if what I was doing went to the bottom, I was out. So I had the great foundation of cutting my teeth in marketing, in having my feet held to the fire with the sales team. So when I say my marketing, and I know you um, have the same mentality, is marketing and sales need to be aligned. And otherwise, it's just an expense.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we share that mindset there.
For sure.
So, Michael, we're going to jump right in. We promised to go over 4 questions today. This is a conversation, so others may come up, but I'm just going to give a preview. We're going to talk about what is content marketing, what defines a quality content marketing strategy, how to create content marketing success on a limited budget, and what defines success. I'll also mention that the first public speaking event that I ever did was how to create effective marketing on a shoestring budget. So it all comes full circle. Whether you have a
Yeah.
shoestring budget or a big one, it's the same practices. So
Yep.
let's start with this, Michael. What is content marketing?
Yeah, I mean, I have a formal definition I don't want to read off, but I like to explain to people that, kind of like in the same way, my oldest daughter is a sophomore in college, and she's taking her first marketing course. And of course, it's all about advertising and famous celebrity influencers. And I was trying to explain to her that marketing is not just advertising and celebrity and, endorsements. In fact, the large majority of marketing is not that stuff.
Correct.
And in the same way with content marketing, I like to start with what it's not. And what it's not is it's not marketing with content. And so, I think a lot of people have, they kind of, use the two terms interchangeably, content and content marketing, or, they think of content marketing as marketing with content. So an ad is not content marketing, an ebook is not content marketing, a web page is not content marketing. Content by itself is not content marketing. So what is content marketing? A couple of things. One, it is focused on customer concerns. So a couple of C's are going to come up here. And what I mean by that is it's not, hey, my product is awesome, you should buy it. That's promotional marketing. It's, hey, here's the latest trends in the industry. That's something that might attract somebody based on something they're concerned about. Or, here's an answer to the biggest challenge that you might face in your role. Or, how to solve problem X with solution Y. It's educational. It's based on customer needs. It's not based on the promotional needs of a company trying to, push itself out there. The other thing is it's consistent. And this is another thing that separates content marketing from just content. Like 60% of the websites in the world that are owned by companies or nonprofits do not publish regularly or consistently. I love to use a HubSpot stat that companies that publish 4 blogs a week see 4 times the traffic and leads than companies that don't publish consistently. Companies that publish 5 times, 6 times, the actual numbers, number of times published per week and number of multipliers against companies that don't publish consistently, the trend continues up. There's no diminishing return. So there needs to be some consistency. Another way I like to explain that part of the definition is Google wants to see a heartbeat. Your audience wants to see a heartbeat in your company. Companies with websites that are static and look like brochures from the 1980s are definitely not doing content marketing. They're not doing modern marketing. The final thing is content is published on your website. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people think content marketing is a press release, or it's, hey, I'm going to call Fast Company and get them to write about our founder story. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's really a good thing, but it's not content marketing. Content marketing is published on your website like you're a publisher almost, so that you're attracting an audience to you. And the reason that's so important, and then when we add those 3 things up, is that results in a measurable thing. So I like to say to CFOs, your website is a digital asset with real value that we can measure. And if we do content marketing, it'll grow over time. And so it's a financial instrument, if you will. If you do content marketing, your website can become a marketing vehicle if it's done properly.
Absolutely. And as you were talking, I pulled up our next point of what defines a quality marketing strategy. But I want to emphasize a couple things you said. You actually use some numbers 3, 4, 5 times a week, which to someone who hasn't started yet, that could be scary. But I want to emphasize the one single word that you said in that sentence was consistency.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing, and I'll tie them together, your website, I actually suggest people name their website, give it a human name. And we make it, have alliteration to their company, so that you think about your company being a welcomer, a customer care person, answering salespeople's questions. A lot of this content, yes, there's SEO research and all that, but what your customers and what your prospects and your donors need. They're your questions that you get all the time. But even if you are doing 1 a month blog post, then do 1 a month and set a schedule and hold yourself accountable. Don't worry about the number, because what Michael also said that was, if you continue to do this and you are consistent and you grow, it will bring more viewers to your site if you are putting relevant information there. Again, not promotional sales flyers. That's not it. And you will be found. It's about being findability, and having the search engines, we just call them Google, recommend you. So exactly. Consistency is what's most important in what Michael said. And you started to touch on things that fall into what is a content marketing strategy. So let's segue right into that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the parts of the definition I think really get into the content itself. But I always like to start our strategy discussions well before the content. And like I said, almost differentiating what is content marketing from the rest of marketing. And so I start with the need for a business case. And the business case for content marketing is very simple. It's to reach, engage, you mentioned this, to attraction, reach, engage, convert, and retain buyers or donors you would have never reached, engaged, attracted, or converted and retained if you only did traditional outbound promotional, we're awesome kind of marketing. um, the reason that's so important is, sometimes as marketers or business owners or nonprofit owners, we forget that as people we hate marketing. So like if we create the kind of marketing that people actually want, which is helpful, educational, entertaining, will attract an audience just like good storytelling does. And so building that business case internally, if you're a one person company or 10 or 100, it's important to know that content marketing means reaching, engaging, converting, and retaining buyers or donors or new customers you would have never seen if all you did was promote yourself. Now, the reason we do content marketing is because it's cheaper, and there's 100 different studies. All of our clients can attest to the fact that inbound based content marketing, attraction based content marketing, is significantly cheaper than outbound marketing. No one ever believes me, so if you don't, then I won't try to convince you. But the data will prove that's true. So step one is build the business case. Step two is commit to that consistency. Like you said, if you don't publish consistently, once a month is better than not at all. Once a week is really where we start. And the reason we start with once a week, it's relatively affordable for most of our small business clients. And it really starts to provide the ability to measure and demonstrate an accelerated return from that investment. So commit to the consistency. The third piece is create a content plan or strategy based on customer questions. You also mentioned that. We use keyword research. We're not an SEO firm. I'm not an SEO expert. Those people are super smart and super nerdy. And we work with those folks because almost all modern marketing starts with what questions, what keywords, what queries are people asking in their search engines before they reach out to a company like ours. And so we start with identification of those keywords, those topics, those questions. Then we put together an annualized plan. A good content marketing strategy identifies an annualized plan based on the commitment and the topics you've identified that says, hey, here are the things we're going to publish month 1, month 2 through month 12. And then the next step, it may sound really complicated, but it's really not. The next step is how are you going to get it out there? For most of our clients, it's simple organic search. It's a little bit of social, whatever email lists you have. And if, in a second, third year engagement, sometimes we talk about paid, but I don't think most companies even need to get there. And then the final thing, and I know it's one of your questions we'll get to, is measurement plan. And so, so we need to understand, really tied to the business case, how are we going to measure the results of content marketing?
So yes, absolutely agree with everything that you said. And what you mentioned about people not believing that content marketing, I think you said, is cheaper or more affordable than paid advertising. Another way I like to talk about that is paid advertising. I mean, no one's going to say paid advertising isn't a good idea. What we are going to say is most companies can't afford it. Well, for the right time, Michael, if there's a big event going on or something that really needs a big push, there's reason for it. And you, not to make this an advertising conversation, but you have to have enough money to advertise, because just like you have to be consistent with blogging, and you're right, if you're going to do once a month, you're just putting your toe in the water to practice, but you can't expect a big return. In advertising, if you don't put enough out there and you pinpoint it now to reach the absolute right audience, it's not going to work. And if it does work, it's going to work for that period of time. So one of the reasons that we both are firm believers in content marketing is it lasts. If you're asking the questions, they don't generally change. There could be trend topics that you'll write about, but it gives you return on investment. It is your salesperson or your educator, your outreach person that is working while you're sleeping and while everyone else is doing their job. And by you saying aligning with sales and marketing, we have to talk to our salespeople, even if your salesperson is you, listener and viewer, that you're, wearing many hats at this point. Someone is actually selling, whether you call it that or not. So, but if you have official people doing your business development or sales, you need to ask them what their customers are asking.
That's right.
So, um, let's talk about content marketing success on a limited budget. Basically, everything we're talking about applies to that, but let's be specific. And I'm going to let you be specific on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so, and I've had to face this challenge, in my very first CMO job, in my very first corporate content marketing job. They asked me to do content marketing without a budget. And when I started my own agency, and so I was doing content marketing on no budget in each of those instances, at least to start. And so the trade-off was time. So what I did as a marketer at a startup, as this first CMO of this startup company, without any marketing budget, is I went and I found all these different great press releases, surveys, the customer service folks had like call logs. What I found was I identified the questions that I knew our audience was asking, and I found quick and sort of growth hacking ways to repurpose those things into articles that we could publish on our website. When I started with this company, this is more than 10 years ago. They were doing press releases about stuff, but embedded in those press releases were things like amazing stats and great customer stories that were sent out as promotional tidbits about why the company was awesome. They weren't sent out from a storytelling perspective about, building the context of the company. And so that was how I started in that first job, was building the content. We did we used SurveyMonkey and did some surveys of clients, and we, talked to salespeople, and we talked to customers and profiled them on our website, things like that. When I got to SAP and was asked to run content marketing without any budget, there was a ton of content all over the organization. My favorite one was executive presentations. I took the speaker notes and turned those into articles. There were white papers all over the place that I, divided up into 3 parts and turned them into articles, and then linked to the landing page the white paper sat on. And the demand gen team loved me for that. There were actually individual folks in the company that were blogging on their own websites, and I asked them to come blog on the company website, and they were thrilled to do that. So all of those things cost zero money, but they did take some time. And then when I started my agency, it was Friday. I spent Friday writing 1 or 2 articles. I got really good at banging out an article in 3 or 4 hours. And so, once I was able to do an article in less than 4 hours, I started doing 2. And then I, hired an employee and asked her to do 1 a month. And, now we're up to, 3 or 4 a week. And we don't pay for it. So but we do spend our time and our, sweat equity to kind of make that happen. So those are some of the things. But the fact is, almost every company, no matter how large, has stories, has facts, has stats, has surveys, has, speaker notes to, investor presentations that, or donor presentations that you've given that you could easily turn into an article without spending 5 hours. And that's my advice to, folks on a shoestring budget.
And also, those presentations were created to address someone's interest, someone who needed to know about your company to support them, and that's a good point about investors. I mean, content is not only for one audience, right? And I think we need to say here that you need to know who your audience is, you need to know who your personas are, and you need to prioritize who you are trying to engage where you're trying to move your company's needle at that time.
Yeah.
So, and we are, content is a currency, and time is a currency, and money is a currency. So just like you said, you were at stages of, companies that may have seemed like they had resources, but they weren't giving it to marketing until marketing proved that they could move a needle or influence something. And maybe you'll come back another day and we'll talk about key performance indicators that actually do that. But let's move on to some top line points that can help define success in this way. I would like our viewers to know what defines success in metrics for the company, but how do they help marketing get a seat at the C-suite, whether there's an official C-suite or not? How do you get those around you not to see marketing as an expense, but an investment?
Yeah.
I'm not here to sell marketing. I believe in marketing. I've been working a long time and I'd be out of marketing by now if I didn't firmly believe in it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what defines success of content marketing.
Yeah. Again, I think it gets back to the fact that because it's consistent and it's published on your own website, ideally, and it's focused on customers, it delivers a return that continues. I think you sort of alluded to this. It's relatively evergreen. So, it's kind of like your 401k, the dollar you invested back when you were hopefully, 21 years old, if you were smart, continues to compound, and every percent gain that your investments got, you got interest on top of interest on top of interest. So that first dollar invested, becomes, $100 7 years later because of that compounding interest. Content is the same way. Unlike advertising, where you might get a return on ad spend, but if you stop spending on advertising, it goes to zero. With content marketing, in general, I would say you could stop spending and you'll see at least some amount of value continue. So that's part of the mindset, I think. But from a how do I present this to executives, and CEOs, and I've done this quite a bit. It starts with that business case. That's why the business case is so important, and why I think marketing needs to defend the value that it brings by saying we're going to help you reach, engage, convert, and retain buyers we wouldn't have reached if you didn't invest in marketing. And we're going to do marketing that we can measure the reach, engagement, conversion, and retention. And so, I wrote a whole book about this, the content formula, and how and why I think content marketing is a better way to show value on each of those metrics. And there's 10 formulas. And, I actually worked with someone who was good at math to help me define those calculations. But the fact is there are measures. And so I'll just give you a quick example. We use a tool called SEMrush, which is, organic traffic and rankings. When we do the keyword research for our clients, we put those keywords into the tool, and it helps us understand what amount of search visibility and what number of rankings, how much organic search traffic that client gets. And then we can track that over time, and we can track it against their competition. And every single one of our competitors starts to create space and visibility and rankings and traffic against their competition because they're publishing consistently on their website. So that's nice for reach. It doesn't pay the bills. So, we need to engage companies. I like email subscribers as a good measure for engagement. If someone's willing to give you their email address in this overcrowded inbox world, that's pretty valuable. It's still not a lead, it's still not revenue, but at least it's a measure of engagement. Do you have conversion activities and call to actions on, or calls to action on your website? If you've got those, and we work with our clients to get there, then you can start to measure leads from that organic search traffic. And then we've done this. Retention is my favorite, and I could do a whole 45-minute show on retention. But with those clients who we've worked with and trying to measure the retention gains from content marketing, it's somewhere around 3 to 5x return. And what I mean by that is clients that they were able to, or customers they were able to attract and convert from content marketing either spent or delivered a lifetime value that was 4 to 5 or 6 times higher than the clients or revenue they were able to generate from other activities. So anyway, the point is there are measures against each one of those things that define success. But it starts with what's the business case you've asked for the budget for, and then what are the measures of success that you're going to prove that value at the end of the day.
And to add to that, to even come a little bit outside that, you and I also talk about the stages of awareness, consideration, and decision. And that's where the attraction, and then the engagement, and then the decision, the conversion that you're talking about is the decision to take an action that either continues to read more of your content or engages or shares your email, shares more content, so that they go on this online journey with you, in a sense, having a conversation if they were asking you one-on-one because the next topic piqued their interest. And then behind the scenes, if you're using the right tools, it's easier, but otherwise you then have leads that go to your representative, whether you call them a salesperson or not. And that person that the representative is talking to the two of them are more aligned in knowing what they each want to talk about, and
Mhm.
that's why there is a better rate of success and than advertising where they just responded to something that told you one bit of information. So again, I'm not bashing advertising. I started in advertising. There's a place, but we both, Michael and I, like to make sure our clients have a solid foundation, and we have mutual clients. And even to set that stage, when we have a client that is ready for a very real and consistent steady drumbeat, then it's time for me to say, Michael, collaborate with us. We and the client need more resources, and you're the person. We share the same mindset, we share the same tools,
Mhm.
we share the same methodologies, and we're helping clients at different points and different stages, and
Yeah.
vice versa.
Mhm.
So the I hope today, for anyone listening, you feel a little bit more knowledgeable and brave enough to take a first step. Again, we started out talking about how it's just like anything else. How fast do you want to get there, right, Michael? You and I talk about that. One piece of content. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. So I keep saying blogs, but there's also web pages on your website that need to be up to date and correct and added to the overall page, can be detailed out, and that's also a journey. So that I don't leave anyone here thinking that the only thing that gets fed into the website that makes it a living breathing entity that Google values, as do others that go there or are attracted and served there. What are some other pieces of what we would call content on a website that will satisfy the need?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a survey that just came out today on the biggest challenges in content marketing, and the number one challenge cited by marketers was mapping content to the buyer journey. So, I think I find it funny that a lot of business owners, founders, the first thing they do with marketing is hire like a social media intern, and I'm like, that's okay, and sometimes all they do is share like, extremely promotional things out. But when you really think about the buyer journey, it starts long before somebody cares about your company. It starts with really basic education. The biggest gap we see in content strategies is the earliest stages, the most foundational questions. Most founders and product people and salespeople even, they overestimate the intelligence of their audience. And it's not to say that their audience is stupid. It's just that the journey starts much earlier than salespeople and founders would like. Like salespeople and founders would love it if everybody said, what is Sergeant Marketing? Because I really need some of it. But in fact, people are like, what is marketing? Like, why do I need marketing? And maybe they ask, how do I do marketing? Which is why I think you're doing these great, shows. And then they might say, oh, what is Sergeant Marketing? What does Nancy do? So, we have to really think through, how do we map content to the buyer journey? So yeah, that includes blog posts, it includes social posts, it includes, infographics or, GIFs if you're into, TikToks and all those fun things. But it also includes a lot of, middle stage content is probably, the hardest thing because it's expensive. Like this is, videos, long form videos, what I call customer profiles, not case studies, but where you really, help your audience understand who your client base is and the challenges they go through. Ebooks, white papers. These are things that are a little bit deeper because they're answering the how question. How do I get this problem solved? And then, like I said, there's customer testimonial videos and case studies and those things. And well, most companies have those things. They're smart enough to know they need those things, but again, they only have them because I think they're thinking the buyer journey starts a little later than it does.
Absolutely. So let's recap. And I love how you said it starts with the business case. So anyone considering creating content and having a content marketing strategy that fits into their marketing strategy. And we're both believers of it's the core, because there's nothing to share on social and other places if you don't have good education. But start with that business case. What are you marketing, and what do your people, your customers, your prospects, your investor supporters need to know? Survey internally, right? Start your own list and get that. And then have the confidence to write one post or one page about it, and go from there. Don't be afraid of this. It's made to seem harder than it is because it needs to keep being fed into the website. But not doing it at all is the cost of inaction. And Michael, maybe you come back and we'll talk about the cost of inaction. We'll talk about a little deeper in the process here. But we're here to encourage you. We're here to help you not be afraid of it. If we're both here to serve clients with overall strategy that we do in Sargent Marketing, and content marketing is a big component. The Marketing Insider Group is a total specialist in content marketing, and we're here to serve. And that's what the Milestone Mindset Live show is about. Just to recap, and really enjoyed talking about guerrilla growth hacks to win new clients and donors with content. And we wish everyone here much success. Our contact information has been scrolling at the bottom. You can find us both on social media as well, especially LinkedIn and really all the media. And Michael, thank you so much. It was great to have you come on the show today. And we'll be sharing this in columns on Medium, on our socials, and we'll continue keeping on. So have a great day, Michael, and everyone listening. We actually have listeners and viewers from around the world. So whatever time of day it is, we hope you're enjoying that part of the day. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. Yep. Thanks, everyone.